Welcome back. Now, as if Ireland's game against Germany tomorrow wasn't big enough, it brings 100 caps for Steve Staunton. He's skipper too, of course, with no Roy Keane, so a big day for Big Stan.
14 years ago, a skinny teenager from Dundalk first pulled on the emerald jersey. Steve Staunton becomes the first Irishman tomorrow to a century of caps. It's a landmark moment in the Republic's sporting history, which Stan has been trying to play down.
To be honest with you, we're in a group and 100 caps is great, but I suppose if it was in Dublin and we're playing a friendly against someone, it would be really special as regards that night. We're playing Germany. We're trying to get to the next phase of the World Cup. That means a little bit more at this moment in time.
Good day, Stan! Cruyff, Platini, Puskás, I could go on. None of them reached 100 caps.
They were great players, to be honest. I don't consider myself in that group.
Is he one of the all-time greats in Irish football?
It has to be, doesn't it? You can't play as many times for your country, do what he's done, and not be one of the all-time greats. He certainly is.
100 and another 100 to come. Well done, keep it going.
Graham Taylor says you're one of the toughest players on yourself, that you're one of the hungriest players still that he knows. Is that why you've kept going, do you think?
I think that's part of the reason that's kept me going. I enjoy it. I am probably a little bit too critical of myself. Very harsh on myself after a game.
So when Cameroon scored Saturday?
Well, to be honest with you, at the end of the game, I couldn't get the first half out of my mind. No matter how well we done second half, it was still riling within me.
All the best, Stan.
If anything, Staunton's stature has increased in recent weeks. The fallout from the Roy Keane saga demanded he step forward, take the captain's armband and become even more of a leader.
The most important thing I think we've done, myself, Niall, Alan and a few of the other lads, is kept the spirit of the young lads going, which, you know, things were getting to them. They didn't know what the World Cup was all about until Saturday.
It'll come to Holland! He's done it!
Would you like to think Roy Keane's watching as well, back home?
Well, that's up to Roy. You know, it's a shame he's not here with us, you know. We'd all love him to be here playing for us and captaining the side, to be honest with you, none more so than myself. But that's history now. We have to move on.
Good luck, Stan.
Can you savour the occasion? Do you look around the stadium? You don't, I don't think, do you? You don't?
No, I don't. I do. It's nice to see people, friendly faces you know in the crowd, but once the whistle starts, whistle goes and the game starts, you're up and running, and you got to get on with it for 90 minutes, and hopefully you come out with the right result.
Big day for Big Stan tomorrow. Now, before we get our teeth into Ibaraki and what will happen with the Germans, you probably know Steve, or Stan as he's known, better than, well, maybe even Mrs. Staunton.
Listen, that's a sensational achievement. 100 caps is brilliant. We started roughly at the same time in '88, and yeah, Stan is a special player, a wonderful left foot, very versatile, gets on with the job whether he's asked to play centre-half, left wing, left back. No grumbles from him, terrific professional. A couple of years ago when he was at Liverpool, he went back to Liverpool and it never quite worked for him. All thought it might fizzle out for him, but he's hung in there and thoroughly deserves that 100 caps, and that's all credit to him. And he is definitely in the top 3 of greatest players that have ever played for Ireland. Yeah, absolutely, and it's, of course, a big game for him and the rest of the squad. Now, in terms of Andy's confidence about this victory against Germany, which he's sure is going to come, Rob, are you convinced they'll beat Germany?
I'm not convinced they'll win. They maybe won't lose, but I'm not convinced they'll win the game.
Bobby, can you believe they'll take 3 points?
They have massive spirit, even more now with the Roy Keane saga behind them. But it's a tough one. It's an ordeal, and they're playing against a strong, well-organised. I think the match it will be between the spirit and the motivation of the Irish against the organisation.
So some doubts. Ali? 3 points, definitely?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, Andy's beginning to get boring and on about it, actually, to tell you the truth. I think it's a massive, massive game for him. I think a draw for Ireland is a wonderful result. But I love listening to Staunton there because I know exactly what he's talking about. They had a great second-half performance, but he's more interested in the first half, which is great professionalism.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, you've got a bit of convincing to do, Mr. Townsend. Tell these 3 why they're going to win.
Listen, I've watched this team come on an awful lot over the last couple of years. I've seen us roll Portugal and Holland over. We've recently beaten Denmark and Russia, teams like that, very comfortably. They've moved on an awful lot from the team that I played in with Jack. This team has much more about it flair-wise, perhaps not as physically as strong, but I honestly think that they've a lot of confidence, and I'm still not convinced that Germany are as organised and as hard to beat as everybody is making out. I think that if our key players play well, and obviously they're going to have to, if they play well, I'm talking about the Duffs, the Keanes, Shea Given in goal is going to have to play very well, right through the spine of our team. I think we've got enough to win the football match, I do.
And do you think you've got to go and chase the game? Like Ireland's best players when they go and hunt and rat and go and make things, or is it about sitting in? Because I think the back...
I don't think we don't have to win it in the first 10, 15 minutes, certainly not. I don't think that at all. I think if we sit, Rob, I think if we just play the game as we have done it, in the big matches I've seen us play over the last couple of years, we've always seemed to have just got it right, and I don't see any reason to think that we can't pull this one off as well.
I just think with the Irish lads, with the way they play is so important. I don't think they can sit back, Robbie. I think they've got
tempo.
They've got to keep the tempo up for as quickly and for as long as they can, periods in the game. And I think probably just as important, they've got to keep the Germans out the 18-yard box.
I think every combination is important, but I think the most important combination tomorrow for me would be the two front players. I like them. Both individually clever, Andy, aren't they?
Yeah, very good.
And they seem to be playing very well together. They can both hold it up. They can both play with their back to goal. They can both turn on the ball, and they both can dribble. And they can go past people. And you might stop one, but will you stop two? And I think that's a formidable combination.
Robbie Keane, the last couple of months, just seemed to get a spark again back into his game at Leeds. He'd had a funny season, but certainly the last 2 or 3 months really picked up. And Damien Duff is a sensational young player. He really is, and he's going to be so difficult for people to handle. I'm looking at Ramelow and people like that, good players. They won't know an awful lot about Damien Duff, and I tell you what, he's got no respect for anybody. Get the ball into his feet early on, and he twists and turns, and he's positive, and he runs at people, and he can frighten them.
And the whole Ireland deal with someone like Michael Ballack, who I think in that position is as good as there is. If the space is between the midfield and back four, he'll come in and he'll hurt you.
I think we have to stay very compact. We aren't the quickest in the middle of the back. Steve Staunton's obviously there, Stan. He knows he's not the quickest. We've got a few problems. Gary Breen at the moment is not fit, Bobby, and I was going to ask you about Andy O'Brien, who's a possibility to come in there tomorrow. How do you think he'll fare?
Well, he won't let you down at all. He's done marvellously well at Newcastle. He's come on leaps and bounds. We paid £1 million for him, which was basically nothing, but he's quick, Andy. He's a good marker. He's good in the air, and you saw what the Germans did in terms of heading ability against Saudi Arabia. Their heading ability was nil, and the heading ability of Germany was very good. But Andy in the air will match that.
See, that's why I said I think they've got to defend as far up the park as possible. So you've got to keep the Germans out of the box because of their
They play a little bit more. Their team, the way they set up, they play 3 at the back, and they like to have Ballack a little bit free. So we'll need to stay nice and compact. If we do start dropping away and these big gaps appearing, then he will hurt us, of course. Listen, they've got people in their team that can hurt us, but I'm confident if we play very well, and we'll have to, I think if we do, we can win the game.
What do you make, Bobby, of this idea that Ali and Robbie are putting that it's a question of tempo and bossing the Germans about a bit, because they generally like to govern the games they play, and that's when they're at their most comfortable, isn't it? You don't ever underestimate the Germans, but if you go and push them around a little bit and tell them how you're going to play, maybe that's how you do them.
Probably, but they are arrogant people, aren't they, you know? They don't mind being bossed about. They fight that.
Do you think this German team, Bobby, is that good to go the distance in this tournament?
No, it's an improved side since 2 years ago when they were very poor in the European Championships, and they have lost 1 or 2 key players as well in addition to that. But it's still quite a good side. I like the boy Klose, who got the hat-trick of headers. Ballack, of course, as Robbie has said, is just as good as anything in the tournament, I think. But Ireland have a chance. I mean, I just think that spirit of the Irish team will just, on the day, they'll run themselves into the ground. And I think they'll do well enough to get a point.
Rob, for and for Ireland as well, the one thing they always had was good set pieces, good height, good strength. Look at the team now, and it's quite a small team, isn't it, in comparison to teams you play with?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. From set pieces, I must admit, we have looked a wee bit vulnerable once or twice when we're defending set pieces because we don't have the height and the power that we once had. But I looked at when we played Holland, Bobby, in the qualifiers, and they had Van Nistelrooy, Kluivert, Hasselbank up front, with Stam and all these, and we beat them. We don't seem to be fazed by whatever's out there in front of them, and they just seem to go about their business in the right way. And I just do feel we can get this result. I do.
Good, excellent. Well, listen, we've got an email that agrees with you, Andy. This is from Gary Cloggy in Kirkintilloch. which Ali will know very well. Gary says Ireland will win and go top of the group. I'm sure the Germans have scored 8 against Saudi, but Coisty could have bagged those as well, which is obviously an exaggeration.
You leave an address for that?
The Germans just played an awful team. So perhaps an 8-0 is distracting. It gives the Germans the idea that they're a better team than they are. Maybe that's to Ireland's advantage too. Maybe they get a little complacent.
Possibly. It's very difficult to gauge something from that game against the Saudis, because after they sort of went 3 behind, basically threw the towel in and didn't really compete anymore. I look at some of the warm-up games the Germans have had. They lost 1-0 against the Welsh with a reasonable team out there. Didn't do particularly well against Argentina.
No, didn't play well at all.
I still think they're trying to find what's best for them as well, and I think we have a chance because of that.
The only thing, I look at the Germans, and even I honestly believe they're probably the only team in the tournament that are capable of scoring 8 goals against somebody. Because I think the other teams that get in front, they can sit back. The Italians, for example, against Ecuador,
could have had a load, but didn't bother.
They won 2-0, but just sat back, killed the game, game's finished. But the Germans, machine-like, same things, goal.
Well, also they're never satisfied, are they? They always want more.
Yeah. But I'm still very, very hopeful that Ireland can get a result.
Where are they weak then, Bob? Where are the weaknesses in that German side that Ireland can go and exploit? Why aren't they as good as they used to be?
They just haven't developed the younger player. And they've got very few young players coming through. Most countries have. We have in England. France have, of course. But it seems to have just dried up a little bit, and they're back to their old stages. And I think that's affected them. They were very poor 2 years ago. They've improved a little bit, but I mean, Dazzler, who was the best young up-and-coming player,
who's out of the tournament,
who's now out of the tournament, so that's gone as well.
Right. Has Andy convinced the three of you then? Are you reassessing? Can you see the 3 points now?
He's convinced me they won't be beaten. Yeah, that's his bit.
I think we'll take a point.
Yeah,
I think
we'll take a point. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Take a point.
3 would be nice, though.
If they do that, they've done fantastically well.
Indeed. 3 would be nice. 3 would be nice. Let's hope. Of course, the right place to see it is right here on ITV1 coverage from 12 o'clock of the big one for the Republic against Germany in Ibaraki kickoff at 12:30.